hobbies go, that's not something we are quite used to. But if you are a model railway enthusiast, that's the kind of thing right there that you will be into. A very good morning to all of you. My name is Vasam, hosting the show, and you are watching Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports. And of course, we do discuss a lot of topics on this show, and I'm very excited in particular to be discussing this very exciting hobby. And of course, to introduce the gentleman we have for the show this morning. He's a horologist by profession. He's someone who knows his time very well, and let me also add that he is one of the best lighting designers in Sri Lanka for stage theatre. Rohan Jayathilaka, very good morning to you, and thank you for being with us on the show.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. And tell me, what exactly is a model railways enthusiast?
Well, what we do is we are interested in railways, and we are interested in modeling trains to a reduced scale. There are many scales to choose from. During the course of your interest, you'll decide on what scale to go in for. What we have here on display is what is called 1:76 scale, which is 00, and it's one of the more popular scales.
Rohan, if I just stop you there, this what we see here, this whole setup here, I mean, it's beautiful to begin with. This is some incredible work. So you built this yourself?
Yes, the trains were purchased, but the display and how it's set up was done by me.
Okay.
So that's the hobby, building your surroundings, building the mountains, and designing a miniature railroad. That's the hobby, and that's what I like doing, and that's what I like promoting as well.
Very interesting. Could you just take us through what we see here?
Well, what we have here running is a model of a British steam locomotive as well as a British freight train. We also have, just to describe in terms of sizes and scales, the one over here, the EZ scale, is the smallest commercially produced scale. That's 1:22, the ratio is given there. Then we go one step larger, which is M scale, and HO scale and 00. You get many more scales available, so that's what we have here. Some of the interesting things and some things we have here. I have the first train set that I received, and that's the little black locomotive there. I got it when I was 3 years old, and it's still there and it still runs. So it's a lifelong hobby which you can start off when you're a kid, but continue right along. Very few other hobbies can span your lives, and this is one of those hobbies.
I see. It's a very interesting hobby indeed. May I ask you, what made you get into this particular hobby in general? Why trains?
I think I've always liked trains, and my dad was a train enthusiast, and he introduced this to us to see, okay, whether I like it, and well, I took to it, and it's something that I've been really interested.
So are you saying your dad used to do stuff like this as well?
Yes, he was. He used to build layouts, and he was also interested in promoting the hobby, and we used to actually import and retail it as well, all in the idea of actually promoting this hobby and the interest in it. So that's how I got into it.
And how old were you when you got into, actually when you considered this as a serious hobby? Because I mean from the time you were a kid, right?
Yes.
From the time you were a kid to even like up to now, you seriously look at this hobby as something very serious.
Yeah, I really couldn't say exactly when I decided, because trains has been a part of my life, or model trains has been a part of my life right throughout. So I never really grew out of it or got. I never thought of it as something that I wouldn't want to do. So I've continued with it.
I see. And of course, I mean, this is not the only model you've built, right? I mean, there are lots of other stuff that you've built as well.
Yes. Well, right throughout, I've been building models on and off. The first one, of course, was built with my father. My father built it, and I think there are a few visuals that are available on that. And that was very interesting because we used to take it around for exhibitions.
I see. I think if I'm just stopping there, sorry, Rohan.
Yeah.
I think we do have some visuals, as you mentioned, of some of your work as well. So maybe we can have a look at that.
Yes.
And there we go. We've got some of your work on screen.
This was the first layout that I was, my brother and I and my father built. This was used in many exhibitions as well as we once went and we had to use it as a prop in an international movie as well. So
wow, really?
Quite interesting as well.
I mean, it does look quite realistic.
That's the hobby. The hobby is trying to create as much realism as possible, and that's the idea of the hobby, so that it's as close in terms of miniaturization of the real thing, and that's what you strive to achieve. We have many enthusiasts who are very talented in creating these items. Actually, there are a few here which I've borrowed from a good friend of mine, Mr. Van Kulenberg. And so enthusiasts vary according to what they would like to create.
We do have some more shots of your work.
That's another angle of that layout.
It's the same layout?
It's the same layout. So that was quite a large layout that we built. This was one I built recently for an exhibition, and these are several angles of it. So this was something which I did recently, and as you can see, you try to achieve as much realism as you can on that.
I see. I mean, you did mention the fact that you've done a lot of these exhibitions, and you do treat it as a hobby. But have you ever thought of commercializing this? I try to promote the hobby. So as a result, I do import and sell these with the view of actually promoting the hobby. We haven't gone big or large scale with that at the moment, but I think the demand and the enthusiasm for this sort of practical hobby is now increasing in this country, and yes, that would be some way that we would like to go. That's quite interesting that you said that, because I mean, personally, this is the first time I've come across a Sri Lankan who is really looked at, as a model railway enthusiast.
Right.
But you do say that it's increasing.
Yes.
And so how many people do you think are like out there with such hobbies in Sri Lanka?
There are quite a few. I mean, I would rate them 100 plus at least. But this is a very personal hobby where people don't go out and show it. So I'm sure there are a lot more enthusiasts who have their trains somewhere in a room, and they've set them up quite nicely. The idea I have is to try and get this community together and try and create more awareness, and of course develop the hobby, because I think everyone should have a a hobby, and if they are creatively oriented, then yes, this would really.
And in terms of awareness, Rohan, you did also mention to me earlier that you do have a Facebook page through which you're trying to create awareness, as you mentioned. And what's that Facebook page?
It goes as Model Railways Sri Lanka. I started it off with this idea that people would come and discuss their model railway problems or anything online, and it's gaining popularity. As of yesterday, I think it had around 1,350 likes.
Whoa, that's quite a lot.
Yes, so I'm quite happy, and I'm glad that there are more and more people getting into this hobby.
That's great, Rohan, that's great. Well, we need to go in for a short commercial break, but when we do come back, there are lots of questions actually like to ask you in terms of maintaining this hobby. So don't go away, stay tuned, we'll be right back with Rohan.